Alright guys, so President Trump just announced new 50% tariffs on certain Canadian imports. And whether you think that's a good idea or a bad one politically, that is not what this video is about. I'm not here to debate any politics. I'm here to answer one question that actually matters to your life right now. How could these new tariffs affect your money, your investments, and the prices that you pay every single day? Now guys, I ask that you stay with me all the way to the end of this video because I'm going to give you a practical breakdown of what exactly to do with your money right now, given everything that's happening. And the last part is where this video, I think, really pays off. So let's not waste any time and let's get started. Okay, so before anything else, let's make sure that we're clear on what a tariff actually is. Because there's a lot of confusion around this, and that confusion leads to people either panicking too much or dismissing it too quickly. Guys, to put it simply, a tariff is a tax placed on goods imported from another country. And here's how it works in plain terms. A Canadian company ships a product into the United States, an American business imports that product, and then that American business pays the tax, the tariff in this case, when the goods cross the border. And now that business has a decision to make. Do they absorb the extra cost and take a hit to their profit margin? Do they raise prices and pass that cost along to you, the consumer? Or do they find a different supplier, maybe an American one, to avoid the tariff altogether? So here's the most important thing to understand about the tariffs that most people get wrong. A 50% tariff on Canadian goods does not automatically mean that prices go up 50% for you. That is not how it works. The cost gets spread across multiple players. The importer absorbs some, the Canadian exporter might lower the price to stay competitive, retailers might eat a portion of it, and then whatever's left gets passed on to the consumer. That's me and you. But make no mistake, guys, somebody always pays. Money doesn't just disappear, and in most cases, a meaningful chunk of it eventually lands on everyday Americans in the form of higher prices on specific goods. So now, here's where most people tune out because they think I don't buy anything from Canada, everything I buy comes from Asia, etc. And guys, that's a common assumption that is mostly wrong. You buy products made by American companies that rely heavily on Canadian materials and components. And those are the things that get hit by these tariffs. Canada is one of America's largest trading partners and exports a wide variety of things into the US. Things like lumber, paper products, construction materials, chemicals, certain food products, alcohol beverages, industrial machinery, and critical components that American manufacturers use to build finished products right here at home. Just think about what happens to housing if lumber from Canada gets 50% more expensive. Builders pay more for materials. That higher cost gets baked into the price of the finished home. The house that was going to sell for $400,000 might now need to be priced for $430,000 or $450,000 to cover those increased input costs. And in a housing market that is already brutally unaffordable for most first-time buyers, that is genuinely painful. The same ripple effect plays out across any industry that relies on Canadian inputs. A manufacturer pays more for materials, which means that the product that they sell costs more, which means that the store pays more, which then means that you pay more. And unfortunately, guys, that chain is how tariffs that seem far away from your daily life end up showing up in very specific and very real ways in your budget. Now guys, very quickly, if this video is giving you any value so far, please show some love by smashing that like button, leaving a comment down below, and subscribing. Your support genuinely helps this channel grow, so please guys, show some love by smashing that like button, commenting down below, and subscribing. Alright, now let's move on to the next segment. Okay, so now let's talk about both sides of this because honestly, there are real arguments for and against tariffs, and I think that you deserve a straight take on both. In the short term, guys, tariffs almost always create problems. Some companies see lower profit margins, some prices rise on specific goods, the stock market gets more volatile as investors try to figure out which industries benefit and which ones get hurt. And here's why that last part matters, especially right now. Inflation is still running above the Fed's 2% target. If tariffs push prices higher in certain sectors on top of an inflation problem that is already not fully solved, it makes the Federal Reserve's job significantly harder. The Fed is already frozen on the rate cuts because of the inflation situation. Adding more price pressure from tariffs only gives them more reason to hold rates elevated even for longer, which affects your mortgage, your car loan, and your credit card rate. So that's one side, okay? Now here's the other side. The long-term argument for tariffs is that when imported goods get more expensive, American-made alternatives become more competitive. Companies have more incentive to manufacture domestically, which could mean more American jobs and a stronger domestic supply chain that isn't dependent on other countries. Less reliance on foreign suppliers also means less vulnerability to global disruptions. If you're sourcing your lumber from inside America, what happens overseas matters a lot less to you and your business. But, and this is a big but, none of that happens overnight. Building factories, training workers, developing domestic supply chains takes years and sometimes decades. So the short-term costs are real and immediate, while the long-term benefits, if they materialize at all, are unfortunately years away. All right, now let's talk about what's happening in financial markets as a result of all of this. Because if you are an investor, this piece matters a lot. The stock market has been watching the Canada tariff situation very closely, and here's why. Again, a 50% increase is not a small number. That's a level that forces real decisions at the business level, not just temporary adjustments. Sectors that rely heavily on Canadian imports, construction, manufacturing, certain food and beverage companies are facing real cost pressure that is going to show up in their earnings reports over the coming quarters. On the flip side, domestic producers of the same goods that Canada currently exports could actually benefit because their products just became more cost competitive overnight. And guys, there's also a timing factor worth knowing. These tariffs are currently scheduled to take effect in about 30 days from the start of this video. But tariff situations can change extremely fast. We could be talking about this completely differently, maybe in the next 48 hours, if negotiations produce a different outcome. Trump has used tariff announcements as leverage in trade negotiations before, and the same playbook could be running here. That uncertainty itself is something markets hate and something investors have to account for when they're making decisions right now. Alright guys, so here's what you actually came for, the end of the video. What should you do right now as a regular person navigating all of this? Well, first, don't panic. One policy announcement should not blow up your entire financial plan or your investment strategy. Long-term investors have lived through recessions, inflation spikes, banking failures, wars, and every kind of political headline that you can imagine. And wealth has still been built through all of it. The stock market adjusts, and it has always stayed the course long term. And you should too. Second, let this be a reminder to tighten up your financial system right now. Build or protect your emergency fund, keep your budget written down and current, know exactly where every dollar is going, because when prices on specific goods start creeping up from tariff pressure, the people with organized finances will barely notice, while the people that are living paycheck to paycheck will feel it immediately. Thirdly, stay diversified in your investments. Some industries are going to benefit from these tariffs, and some are going to face real headwinds. Being spread across sectors rather than concentrated in one area protects you from an outsized hit if the specific industry gets squeezed. Fourthly, watch company earnings over the next several quarters. That's where you're going to see the real story of how businesses are handling these increased costs, whether they're absorbing it, passing it to consumers, or finding new suppliers. And guys, I'll let you know right now, if you don't feel like actually doing the investigation or the research into how companies are doing, go ahead and watch my YouTube videos because I'll break it all down right here. And fifthly, but not last, don't let headlines make your financial decisions for you. Your plan should be built to grow wealth over decades, regardless of what any one policy announcement says. Guys, I want to thank you for watching this video all the way through. please drop a comment down below and tell me, do you think these tariffs are going to help America long term or just make things more expensive? I genuinely want to hear your take and everything that you have to share so you could spread it within our community. Guys, thank you again for watching. Please subscribe so you don't miss the next video that I put out every other day. And I'll see you guys in the next video.